But I think that's part of being an entrepreneur is like, you have to live every day. Like today is your last day. I think right now we've got 450,000 phones connected to the network every day.
So what happens with like AT&T and all these people? Like
The goal for us is to get those users on, and we just measure data.
the ability to sell, right? How important has that been to you?
There's no magic to selling. I think the key.
Hey everyone, Chris showing you Overnight Success. Today we are joined with Frank Mong from Helium, the leaders in DeepIn, the original DeepIn. Everyone's talking DeepIn at the moment, and their journey from into a decentralized cellular provider. So that it's really cool where they're headed. He goes through his journey a little bit and then on to the evolution of Helium, I would say that's super exciting as well. So I'm sure you'll enjoy today's interview with Frank Mong. Cheers. Do you jump into your own business? Do you get like a taste of entrepreneurship or?
This guy named Bruce Armstrong, he's a partner at Khosla Ventures, Vinod Khosla's thing. He and I connected somehow, and I went through and had a breakfast meeting with him, and he's like, and this is the first meeting after I had taken some time off. He's like, you should go talk to this guy named Helium at Helium. I think you guys would be great together.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, great. Let me put it on my Google Sheets. Helium, Helium, like the first company on my Google Sheets. And after I met with Bruce, I met with a bunch of other VCs, and my list grew to 40. So I have 40 companies. There was Helium, the first one, and the other 39 were cybersecurity startups,
right?
Or public companies, whatever. Just like a bunch of introductions. 'Cause that's the space I came from.
Yeah.
So I went through, sat down with Amir, and within the first 15 minutes of sitting down with him, after he was explaining to me about Internet of Things, IoT, and sensors and refrigerators, and
he was living the mission.
He was in the middle of it, thick of it. I kind of looked at him and I was like, dude,
I want more of that.
This isn't for me.
No.
I said, this isn't for me. Right. I'm like, I'm not the guy. I said, hey, look, you sound like you need a head of sales. You need traction. I'm not a head of sales. I've never run sales. I guess I've done sales, but it's always been sort of this weird natural thing that I do to like understand my audience, and then they just naturally want to buy shit from me. But I'm not. I don't know how to organize sales, and there's it's very process oriented. It's a lot of stats, and you can really fine tune sales. I did none of those. Yeah. So I said, look, I like you, Amir. You seem like a really cool guy. After 15 minutes, I don't want to waste your time. I'm the wrong guy. Yeah. I don't think I'm right for this job. I don't know sales, and I'm not really into this IoT thing. It's not that interesting. He's like, I've interviewed like probably 100 COO candidates. You're the only guy that said you don't know what you're doing. Every other person told me why they were the right person. Right. And how they were an expert in this area of Internet of Things. You're the only person that told me the truth. Yeah. I was like, you got to be kidding me. He's like, no, really. Well, and as he says, none of us are experts in Internet of Things. That market really hasn't taken off. How can you be an expert in a space that hasn't taken off? Let alone the decentralized version of it. This wasn't even, this is before that. Oh, right. This is a centralized version of it. Right. And he's like, you actually are the only one that is just honest. And that's what I need. And so I think that's where I ended up in a sort of like constant like enterprise career path, jumping from company to company within the cybersecurity world and getting promoted each time. More stock options. Yeah, more money in your paycheck. You got hooked on that after that. Yeah, it's a drug. It's a great way to put it. It's a hook. It's a drug. You're addicted to it. But what I didn't realize for me was that and looking back on it now, I wasn't a good fit. And and I say that now because I was constantly bombarded with complicated politics. Like you want to climb up, you climb the corporate ladder. At the higher you get, there's less and less space, less and less seats. There's fewer vice presidents than there are directors, and there's certainly fewer chief something officer than there are, vice presidents or whatever. There's only one CEO. The original Helium idea was to figure out how to connect internet of like IoT, Internet of Things devices to the internet very cheaply, as cheaply as possible. Like, you know, we've got,
big enough.
I think right now we've got 450,000 phones connected to the network every day.
Wow.
Per day. And this is only after a year and like 3 months going at this, right? Like I said, we have 70,000 hotspots out there, both brownfield and our hardware. But the pipeline of that is like in hundreds of thousands, like will get lit up. And so the goal for us is to get those users on and we just measure data. How much data, you know, is going through. It's like 40 or 50 terabytes of data per day. And the mission is to get to a petabyte per day. And that would surpass the $9 trillion mobile industry. We would be able to flip that $9 trillion so that it's not just earned by 100 phone carriers around the world, but it would be owned by, I don't know, 8 billion people around the world. That's what I want to see.
Let me stop you there, right?
Yeah.
Because I know, reading up about you, I want to say the word hustler, but you very much attributed with kind of like early days Helium, getting us to kind of take off, right? And I think that is, so I'm curious as to like, and this is what I do, right? BD and partnerships and stuff as well. And I think that learning is invaluable just for life in general. Yeah. So just advice on, like, we see lots of technical founders and stuff like that, and we need to kind of get them out of their comfort zone and thinking the ability to sell, right? How important is that? How important has that been to you?
Yeah, it's incredibly important to understand. I don't think it's active selling. There's no magic to selling. I think the key, and I learned this because I got to work in the marketing capacity, and marketers are good about this. They're trained to do this, and I'm not a trained marketer. I just learned through hustling, like you said. That's a good word for it. Learned through figuring it out. You got to know who you're talking to. Like when I first sat down here, I asked you, who's the audience? Who am I talking to?
Yeah.
So I want this to be relevant to them. Yeah. So if you're an entrepreneur, whether you're technical or business or something else, it doesn't matter. Like, a technical person can have empathy. And I think that's a key word. Like, I had to learn that. I'm not a very empathetic person by nature. But I had to learn that. And I say empathy because the more you understand who you're talking to, the better you'll connect to them, right? But I think that's part of being an entrepreneur is, like, you have to live every day like tomorrow, like today is your last day. Like, you don't know if you're going to make it tomorrow. It's very difficult to maintain that mindset. But that's what I tell my team. Like, this is it. This is our year. If we don't do it this year, it's over.
Thank you for listening to Overnight Success. We hope you enjoyed hearing from our guests and learning about their inspiring journeys. If you found this episode helpful, please subscribe and share it with your friends. And remember, with hard work and dedication, anything is possible.